Hi, my name is Michael Dennis. This is my midlife crisis YouTube channel, and as you can see, I have all kinds of crises going on right above my shoulder. This is the most embarrassing thing I've done in a long time, is buy the entire collection of new Sopranos Amazon Funko Pops. Uh, as a Sopranos super fan, they don't ever make anything. When was the last time any piece of merchandise ever comes out where they're well, I'm like I saying, there's a new piece of merchandise. So then, as I see a few weeks ago on my Twitter thread from other Sopranos super fans about, oh my gosh, these new Funko Pops are coming out. I'm torn because I don't want to buy Funko Pops because that makes me a Funko Pop person. But then again, it's the Sopranos. When was the last time anything ever gets produced with them on it? So I've got them all: Silvio, Tony with the duck, Chrissy, other Tony, Carm. My wife got me Carm. I'll put them somewhere else. Right now, they're up next to Big Papa Pump. I hope that at least redeems my manhood a little bit. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bengals and who they are and the conversation going on around them this week. I listened for a few minutes to Mo Egger on Monday, and him and Tony, the Tony Mo Football Show, they asked about, would you consider the season to be a success or a failure? And they were on the fence about it. Mo's approach to it was, ask me in a couple of years if they go back to a few Super Bowls, if they win one, then this is just a kind of bump in the road. I was kind of surprised that they didn't consider this to be a complete success. Let's just take it on the surface level. At the beginning of the year, if you had said the Bengals will make it back to the AFC title game, they will play the Chiefs, they will come down to the last couple of minutes, you would have taken that right off the bat, and rightfully so. That would have been a smart move to make. But now, because of everything they've gone through, and because the game was right there for them to win, there's not a lot of, I guess, positive feelings around this team, and I think that's wrong. This season was a success in every way, shape, and form. They did not end the way, of course, we wanted it to, where the way they wanted it to, but this season was so incredibly important. After last year, there was no question that Joe Burrow was the man. There was no question that he belonged, and at least in the upper echelon. But there was questions about Zach Taylor, if he was the guy, if he was holding Joe or this team back in some capacity. And the truth is, he is not. Where last year you got all the answers to Joe Burrow that you needed, this year was the year you got all the answers to Zach Taylor that you needed. And allow me to take this moment right now to say that Zach Taylor might be one of the things I've been most wrong about in my entire sports history. The thing I've been most wrong about my entire life was the Yankees in 2004, blowing that 3-game lead. I could not have been more confident or talked more to multiple people, including some Boston Red Sox female fans who I may or may not have been involved with at the time. But I never ate more S on planet Earth than I did during that 7-game series that the Yankees lost out and lost. I might be more wrong about Zach Taylor. All of his fluffy pieces, just how his vibe, just everything about him, I was unsure of. But then you go back and look at this entire year, how good this team looked, how tight this team looked, how well it played. It never wavered in the big moments. It got better. The team got better as the year went on. Zach Taylor solidified himself as being the guy here in Cincinnati. And if there was question a year ago about whether, Joe's the man, but is Zach? That question has now been answered. Zach Taylor is clearly the leader for this team. I was wrong about him, so were a lot of other people. Just how this team handled everything, and I'm not even talking about the Damar Hamlin situation, which was exemplary. I'm talking about just showing up and playing and being prepared to win. How much during the Marvin Lewis era was this great team. It was a great team. It was really stacked. How often did they just not show up for a game? And how often was that part of the press conference every single day, every single week with Marvin being like, yeah, well, we just didn't show up to play today. I feel like that was the mantra of the Marvin Lewis era. And that's not the case with Zach. This team loves him. This team responds to him. This team plays great situationally. This team played great in the playoffs. They are always prepared. Zach Taylor is clearly the man. And because you can leave here at the end of the season knowing you have the right quarterback, you had that, but also knowing you have the right head coach. You're not Buffalo, where your head coach is going to be on the hot seat next year. How many good teams in this league have a head coach that isn't on the hot seat? Is it San Francisco? Dallas? You can't say that about Dallas. Philadelphia right now. You can't say that about them. Jacksonville, Miami. All of these are places that you can say are solidified in their head coach, and I think the Bengals are too. I was wrong about Zach Taylor. He has done more for this team and for this franchise than I ever expected him to, and he's the guy. And for people now to talk about how this season wasn't a success, it was. You got the 2 straight AFC title games. You got down to the very last minute. You did not get a single call in that entire game for the entire second half of it. Literally everything had to break the other way for you to lose, and that's what happened. There's no shame in that. The other thing that Mo and Tony talked about, which I kind of bristled about, was, just this idea of you were here and you didn't get the job done. Is that considered a failure? I keep going back to the last 15, 20 years where I've watched the Patriots and the Steelers be in very similar situations, always coming down to the title game, coming down the last few minutes. And we would have given our left nut to have been in that position, to be in the AFC title game, to be close. Even the great teams, even the greatest teams, you aren't going to get the bounces every year. You aren't going to win it. Patriots are an example. Steelers are an example. This happens all the time. When you get down to the very last moments of the very best teams and the slightest of margins, then it's not going to bounce your way. You're still 1-3 against Mahomes and the Chiefs. If this game takes place in Cincinnati, is it different? Possibly. But the other good thing I think about this coming out of this game is that one thing the Bengals couldn't say about the Bengals going into it, you could make this argument about the Chiefs, was that, I don't know, it didn't really stick in the Bengals' crawl. I heard the Chiefs mention a couple times post-game about, going 0-3 against the Bengals team and being really jacked up for this. Was there the same level of hatred / complacence, / energy on the Bengals side? I don't know, but now I think you can say with complete confidence that the Bengals fan base effing hates Kansas City, and so do the Bengals. I've never seen a team barely win a game who talked more S than Kansas City that did this week. If I were in their position, I would have just been like, hey, thank God we won this and go about our business. But no, they were pretty chirpy. And I can imagine this one sticks in the crawl of not just Bengals fans, but a lot of the Bengals themselves. So, this was not a loss. And let me back up a little bit. I've heard a couple people say this was like a Marvin Lewis era loss. This was not in any way whatsoever. This is not even comparable to the losses that took place under Marvin Lewis. I'm not even talking about the Joseph Osai penalty. That goes both ways. I think Mahomes flopped. I think Osai did push off on him, but they're going to call that 9 times out of 10. And you have to know that going in. So I think this season was a victory. I was wrong about Zach Taylor more than I've ever been wrong about just about anybody in professional sports. And I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong about that. That's not a bad thing. But you can't leave this year feeling bad. It stings in the moment. Yeah, it sucks. This is a rough week. The Bengals got screwed. They got really screwed. But the season wasn't a failure. You proved that you belong. Last season was not a fluke. You now have the two most important elements for a franchise to succeed moving forward. You have your head coach and you have your quarterback that is solidified, that is proven, and now it's onward and upward. Let's all take a little bit of break for a few months. I'm so pissed off about this finale. I'm not watching the Super Bowl. I'm not really doing anything sports related for a while. This left a pretty bad taste in my mouth, but not about the Bengals themselves. Not about the Bengals themselves, and I can't say that about any loss of the Marvin Lewis era. Those losses in the Marvin Lewis era made me want to commit a hate crime against a targeted hate crime against members of the Bengals front office and players. And I'm probably not alone in that statement. Maybe hate crime is a bit too hard of a word, but in terms of like targeting a person and going after them for what they did, that's what that era did. But that's not really the case with Marvin, or I'm sorry, with this team this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to have another video out shortly. My name is Michael Dennis. Thank you so much for joining along with me and my Midlife Crisis channel. I'm a Cincinnati sports skeptic. I'm a UCF graduate. I'm a Sopranos superfan. Stay tuned for more. Please like and subscribe and help your local podcaster and your local YouTuber. Thank you so much.